All right, thank you, Hutch. Our next presenter is Matt Glasser from GDOT, Georgia DOT. So Matt, want to go ahead and come on up here while we're introducing you? So Matt is GDOT's Regional Traffic Operations Program Manager. It's also known as RTOP. He's the RTOP manager. RTOP, made up a team of public and private sector engineers, collaborates with all jurisdictions around Metro Atlanta to manage and optimize surface street signal timing and operations. Before becoming RTOP manager, Matt spent much of his career in GDOT's ITS group and oversaw the state's comprehensive maintenance program for ITS devices, which kept device availability above 98.5% on a daily basis. That's a really good number, so congratulations. Matt has a bachelor's in civil engineering from Georgia Tech and is a licensed professional engineer in Georgia. So Matt, over to you.
Appreciate it. Well, thanks guys for having me. Have the mouthful title, Regional Traffic Operations Program Manager, which, you know, is just a fancy way of saying signal ops in Metro Atlanta, which is basically a fancy way of saying just do whatever you got to do to make things work because traffic is awful. So with it, that's actually a really awesome title to have because it means that we get to just throw anything out that we can to make things better. And to kind of give you a view of what we're looking at, this is about 1,900 signals within Metro Atlanta that we manage on a day-to-day basis. It's 12 counties, dozens and dozens of local agencies, which means that there's tons of coordination. And again, the idea here is that if you're coming into the city or leaving the city, that you're just getting a seamless, secure route home. So to figure all that out and make things work, we track performance on a day-to-day basis, hourly basis, and a lot of that is driven from vehicle probe data. It's also driven from automated traffic signal performance measures. And we dump all that into this platform right here, which we call our Measurement Accuracy and Reliability Kit, Mark 1, which Iron Man had just come out, so that's why we named it Mark 1. I thought it was kind of funny. And so this is how we stay transparent to our local stakeholders, to ourselves, figure out where we need to go, where we need to throw additional resources. This is an open source platform, so if any of you guys are interested in it, you can steal our source code. All you got to do is just say GDOT built it. And so, like I said, that's the day-to-day, and there's our corridors, and there's our program, and that's really great. But I'm not here to tell you about the program. I'm here to tell you about some situations that we have around holidays. And so every single holiday, we do what any good engineer would do, and we write a nice report that looks something like this. And we hand it off to everyone in our team and say, hey, it's Thanksgiving, traffic will be bad, and here's where it'll be bad, and here's what you can do to make it less bad. And for us, that's, I try to do my best. Each one of those, that's a report for zone 1. We have 8 zones. They're about 10 pages long, which, come on, who's going to read that other than a traffic engineer? And they'll have some pretty slick graphs in here that we take from RIDIS, and they say, here's where we think traffic is going to be a little bit worse, and you're going to see rush hour come in a little bit later, or a little bit, or it's going to start sooner. Maybe in this case it's about the same, so we say, don't worry about it. But again, to someone that's not an engineer, they don't care about that. That's very complex. It's a green and a blue and a red line. It's pretty, I guess, at best. And so what we did is if any of you guys know Chris Hillier, we did a little bit of Alabama R&D, which is ripping off and duplicating what Baltimore did. And this was shared with us actually by Michael about something that they had done in Baltimore to kind of let folks know what's coming up and something that they're going to get and that they're going to understand. And so they had the Thanksgiving week travel forecast, kind of looking very similar to what you might see for a weather forecast. And so to that end, right, we've already gotten this into a format that people get. They go to the Weather Channel or they go somewhere else to see this, and okay, we're off to the races. And we're going to throw the colors up there that people get on Google Maps, which is red, yellow, green. People get that. We're in great shape. And let's throw some fancy clip art up there to say that that's Thanksgiving. Don't mix it up with the following week. And so here we are. We're back to this route. And you know, Baltimore did a really great job. And when they did that, they did it for their interstates, and that made sense. But we're back to 1,900 signals. And Metro Atlanta is 12 counties and a ton of cities. And if I were to say, here's my travel forecast for Atlanta, I may as well just say, good luck. That doesn't really, that's not useful to anyone. And, you know, typically speaking, unless you're on the interstates, you know, what you're doing is, you know, if it's Black Friday, right, you're going to the mall, or it's Thanksgiving and you forgot the cranberry sauce, or you forgot your chocolate meringue pie, which is the best Thanksgiving dessert, by the way, not pumpkin pie. But, you know, that's what you need to figure out. You need to figure out what you're doing. And so we broke the city down into the different regions, and thanks to those handy dandy obnoxious reports that I showed you earlier on that are 10 pages per zone, here we go. And instead of saying zone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, because that's what an engineer would do, we did the reasonable thing and what a human would do and say, oh, in Buckhead, this is what traffic is going to be. And in Midtown, this is what traffic's going to be. And so, you know, took that, got a little bit more of a snapshot of each individual zone to make it look a little bit prettier, and gave some travel insights that we thought were helpful, you know, to say, hey, traffic over the course of the day, traffic is going to be a lot worse, and in particular, do not go during this time. Don't go to 4 to 7 p.m. You know, and so we've kind of played around with that since then. And like I mentioned, this is all taken from something that we're doing already. This wasn't us going above and beyond the call of duty. This was us just trying to translate it into English and something that people are going to get. And to further that, and I'll take my endorsement check, Mr. Pack, from RITIS, we use the trend map. And Thanksgiving is a really great holiday for that because it's always on the same Thursday, or it's always going to be on Thursday, and you can go back and you can look at Thursday, and you can go back and look at Black Friday, and you have the same days, you know, same days of weeks that you can go back and look at, right? And so this became a really nice tool to help bolster what's going on. And so this is just a snapshot that we sent out in a tweet saying, hey, this is what Atlanta's going to look like on Wednesday at 1 o'clock. So if you think that you're going to be smart and skip traffic by leaving work early, wrong. and so that, again, it's a picture says 1,000 words, and in this case, that made it a lot more simple for us to say, don't think you're going to outsmart everyone else because everyone thinks that they're smarter than everyone else. But that information and those pictures are no good unless people know about it, and so here we are. We go to our communications department, and this was something that our communications department, I'm going to give them a huge shout out here, they've done an outstanding job. They have done their best to kind of flood the zone, so to speak, with just as much positive news as they can. And trying to make sure that they're controlling the stories with the things that we want to talk about, so that way that, you know, the local media outlets know that A, we're available, B, we want to talk, and C, we have some really great things that we want to tell you about. And so they foster those relationships. And so one of the things that they did is they kind of shouldered over to someone and said, hey, we got this scoop, and we're going to tweet this out tomorrow morning. If you want to beat everyone else to the punch, we're available. And so, sure enough, they came running over to our TMC and said, we would love to know more about this. Tell us more about it. What are you doing? How did you do this? This is brilliant. You guys are rocket scientists. And we said, well, we just stole this from Baltimore, but keep thinking that way. And so this is what we did. You know, instead of just sending it out a normal press release, they're sending it out via tweet. And because we had gotten buddy-buddy with our local media outlets, by the time that we were tweeting this out, they were already running a story with us showing and explaining exactly what was going on, providing a link to what was going on, which then in turn all the other media outlets were upset because they were behind the scene, you know, behind the ball, and so AJC is picking it up, and you know other media outlets are picking it up, which is outstanding, and that just means more people. At the end of the day, right, we're just trying to get this to anyone. It doesn't have to come specifically from Matthew Glasser telling every single individual in Metro Atlanta what's going on. So moving on, I did want to kind of show you some of the things that we had been tweaking since then, and I do want to point this out, you know, before I say anything else, that this is 4th of July and that it is very difficult to forecast for a moving holiday, but it can be done, so don't let anyone say that it can't. You just have to be a huge nerd, which I'm sure the folks in the visualization symposium would totally are, right? We're all there together. So just as a comparison to what we did previously, and these are just things that just try to help make the message a little bit more clear. This is surface streets. It's not highways. That was kind of a note and a pain point that we saw from before. This, I think we still kind of want to play with it, but we want to give this indication at the top about the overall conditions over the course of the day. We don't want that to be confused with the fact that it's just really bad or at this specific time. And so what we did is that yellow bar, those green bar, the blue bar at the top, right? That's just saying this is what the day looks like, but here is your insight. Just don't go during this time. And of course, updated the clip art because we've got to make it look fun. So that really does it for me. Like I said, we think this is a really great tool just to get that message out in a very simple way. You know, one of the things that's tough for us as engineers is that we all know that we have a lot of really, really great information that we're trying to get to folks. But the thing is, they don't care about all that. They just need about this much. And so that's what we're trying to do is take that information that's about this big and get it down to something about this small so we can impact someone's day, hopefully in a very positive way, so that way they can make a more informed decision about their holiday travel. So I'll open it up for questions. I went very quick. I went super quick. Since I have extra time, and I told you I was going to do it. The other thing that I will share with you is something that we do want to share just kind of with everyone at large, which is, as I mentioned earlier, we in the engineering community are kind of bad at tooting our own horns. And what we have started to do, again, with the help from Michael Pack, but also from the Texas Transportation Institute, is start figuring out ways to kind of spread that message, again, in an easy way. These are infographics that we built. They are available on the I-95 Corridor Coalition and the CAT Labs website for you guys to completely rip off and duplicate because that's what we're supposed to be doing. But just spreading some good news. We give these when we do a travel time analysis after a signal retiming or after a big project. This takes less than an hour to do. The template's built. You're really just trying to figure out the things that you want to share because to each local agency and each stakeholder, there's something different that they might care about. But we hand this right back to them. We get it done for them and say, this is yours to throw to a media outlet. It's your success and it's your win. Take it and run with it. In that case, we are hopefully building some credibility with the local agency and building some trust with the local agency and just providing another resource. And then they go, this is really cool. How can we do this ourselves? So that's the end goal. Outstanding.